Let's see what Resident of Evil. Normally, I actually haven't been really watching Resident of Evil stuff all that much, but we got a few different videos here that because okay, so there was a whole thing. How do I start this out with? Uh, So during Summer Games Fest, Capcom had a whole backroom presentation thing that they showed off to. So it was basically a room full of creators in a private room setting, showing off actual gameplay, the demo that we will probably end up seeing in a few months from now. It has been confirmed that the game is in either first or third person. So Resident Evil 9 Requiem, you can play it in the first or third person viewpoints, which is very, very cool because personally, I like a third person view, but if they are already working on to add in the first person mode, then that means VR mode could also come in, pretty quickish because that's just again VR is just it's camera trickery and then they just have to go in and program all the hand placements on activators and everything. But the hand placements and the activators can also basically when you go to click on something in game, that's the same thing as a hand activator on VR, so it's intuitive that way. So again, though, if you have motion sickness or something, you can still jump into RE9 Requiem. You just have to basically put it on third person mode, and hopefully that will alleviate some of that. So accessibility, major accessibility right there. So yeah, let's jump into this, check it out, see what's the latest info on Resident Evil 9 Requiem, straight up from the people who there's only so much that everybody can say, but I know that Resident Evil was there, Max Dude was there, Sphere Hunter, Susie there was there. Max and Susie were front row. They were like, because the Resident Evil account posted that up, and that's what apparently that's from what Susie was saying is that her and Max were like, oh my god, because you could flip between that in the menus, and it wasn't like, oh, if you hit the wall, it goes into third or something. Anyways, let's see. Let's see.
Alex and Neil here, the writer of Itchy Tasty, an unofficial history of Resident Evil. He's joining us, and he just got to go to Summer Game Fest to see behind closed doors demo gameplay of Resident Evil 9 Requiem.
So one of their friends
Alex, thank you for joining me, man.
Yeah, it's great to be here. Thanks for having me again.
Yeah, and I've got so many questions, but you got to see actual gameplay.
And I have many answers. So yeah, let's get this conversation going.
Perfect. I'm sure everybody is looking forward to it. So let's just start off. I want you to take me through the experience, and then when they did show the gameplay, all the details, just everything you remember, your first impressions, anything that stood out to you, and just everything in general.
His first impressions was Resident Evil, and then he's like, oh, what is that thing coming down the wall?
General, I guess.
So for most people, the demo they showed was not playable. It was actually a pre-recorded video of somebody else playing a specific segment of Resident Evil Requiem. So about the demo, Capcom mentioned that the demo itself was running on PlayStation 5 Pro hardware.
Interesting that it's Pro hardware and not PS5 hardware.
I think that's the most powerful console today that can run the game. And one of the major slogans for this kind of game would be so-called addicting fear or addictive fear, I think. And basically, as Capcom and the director of Requiem, Koshi Nakanishi, explained in the video, Resident Evil Requiem would be quite a frightening and terrifying experience, but it would be frightening and terrifying in a way where players would come back wanting more.
Okay, so essentially, this is the same guy who was responsible for Resident Evil 7 being more on the horror side than the action side. Now, RE7 was also very much an action game on top of the horror, so I'm not it's not so big of a red flag of it being like, okay, they are dipping more into the horror side of things, but I think if they are taking any of the systems from RE2 and 3 remake, then yeah, we're gonna have a lot of guns, a lot of explosions. I think we're probably going to have some creepy crawly ass thing, that's that thing that was crawling down the wall, whatever it may be. that's most likely going to be, you know, the hunter stalker of the game. So where you had Mr. X and then you had Nemesis and all that, that's going to be this, you know, your Raccoon City. They always seem to go that direction with it, of like, okay, something is hunting you throughout this. It's going to pop out at random spots. Now I wonder if it's going to be the set piece random spots, or if it's going to continuously hunt you, because that the continuously hunt you thing, especially on a it does add an extra level of, you know, strain to a speed run, but it is a bit of a pain in the ass trying to deal with that during speed run. During the first playthrough, it's great because you're like, oh god, I ain't got no weapons and everything to actually destroy this thing. On the speed run, that's probably the best thing that they did in RE2 remake, was their actually both 2 and 3 remake, is that Mr. X and Nemesis, if you shot them with a missile launcher, boom, it disables them for like a minute and a half or something like that. So you can kind of just go boom, blow them up, and then run. And if you know where you're going, you can kind of get through the level before they reactivate again. But Nemesis, if you remember, he did reactivate. He jumps over because he's like scripted to jump over onto the cop car, shoot at you with the missile launcher. So you had that back and forth missile launcher fight in the middle of a speed run. That's cool and everything. But just being able to disable them, so you can actually get from point A to point B as quickly as possible. Yeah.
So in that sense, it's called, or they dub it as addicting fear. So I think that really sets the tone for what to
Yeah.
expect from at least what they're trying to show with
They're
this
pushing
demo.
more in the horror
It's gonna
aspect.
focus
It's
a lot
fine.
on scares and things that really make players feel fearful, but also entertained to the extent that they just want to keep coming back for more.
The problem with fear and horror and all this stuff is the same problem that Dead Space has. You know, it's like, even run through the Dead Space remake, once a jump scare happens, you know it's there. It's not going to ever get you again. Like, that's just, unless it's been like 10 years, you come back to it, it's like, oh shit, I forgot that happens. But if you're running through it on your 4th playthrough, 5th playthrough, you already know what's happening. So that horror, as much as they can go for the horror, it only is a one-trick pony in the sense of, you know, Resident Evil. That's where the action horror really. That's why I always say, like, Resident Evil, they say it's survival horror. But on your second playthrough, that survival is gone because you have everything unlocked. You have all your guns, you have all your tokens or whatever else. You know where you're going. You know what you're doing. You know the placements of these zombies or the lickers or Mr. X or Nemesis, or, you know, all these things that are jumping at you, the dogs and everything else. Like, you know, when you go down into the morgue of RE2 Remake, the dogs are in the kennel. You take your rocket launcher, you go kaboof, and all those dogs are dead. You just run through that and you're done. And then when you come back through, there's going to be a licker on the ceiling around the second, you know, corner on the right hand side. Boom, you blow that thing up, you're running again. The horror aspect of things, that's why I always say it's like, it's more like your first run is survival horror, your second run is action horror. And I don't know if I've 100% made that clear on social media when I talked about that, but that's what I'm kind of mean by this. Of, you know, I've definitely talked about it. If you watch my full-on playthrough through RE2 3 remake, especially the speed runs, I end up showing that during the speed run of like, okay, so this is where the horror goes out the window. Kaboom, kaboom, bang, bang. You know, Resident Evil Village was a major one with the Wolfbane. You run around with the Wolfbane, and there is no more survival. You're one shot and everything, even on the hardest difficulty.
So the trailer, the gameplay trailer,
Mhm.
non-playable,
Mhm.
just to emphasize. So I did not play the game myself, but I had a front row seat to the video,
Yes.
and it took place in one specific level in the game, which is a hospital.
Okay, so this is not the RPD that we're seeing. This is a hospital. So this would be. Wait a second. If it's the hospital, is this the because we're going back to Raccoon City? So would this be the hospital that's from RE3 remake?
The trailer starts off with a cutscene, part of which that we saw from the game's unveiling trailer,
Uh-huh.
reveal trailer at Summer Game Fest showcase. So it's Grace. She wakes up all sweaty, all frazzled, feeling very frantic, and it turns out that she's been.
Do I want to know this? That's a spoiler. He's going into spoilers. Do I want to know this? Oh, that's 100% leading into a spoiler right there. She's waking up and she got kidnapped by, I don't want to know who, and then I don't want to know the location either. I want to know, but I want to know on my first playthrough. I don't want to fucking... I want to be as clueless as she is, and in that first playthrough. This is the hard part of being a content creator. Do I want to know this, or do I want to skip it until I actually play? Again, this is 100% the horror aspect of this. This is exactly what I'm talking about right here. Because like, as soon as you know what's happening, it's gone. It's not scary anymore. Okay, yeah. So we're in a hospital or something, and even just knowing that that's a hospital and not the RPD, it's like, oh shit. Okay, so that opens up a whole can of worms of like, are we going back to what Jill went through with Carlos in the hospital? Is the BOWs possibly like, is that hospital part? Does that lead into the Raccoon City part of the Umbrella facilities and all that stuff like that? Just, I mean, even just knowing that little tidbit of information, because where Resident Evil always goes to, it's like, you can just kind of put everything two and two comes together real quick.
Kidnapped and strapped onto a hospital gurney. It's dark and the hospital is very much abandoned.
She's also hanging upside down.
When she comes to, she realizes that she's on this hospital gurney, and then she's actually connected. Like I think her arm is connected to a tube that collects blood from her. So like she's drawing blood, little drops of blood through a tube that's being fed into this glass bottle that's being suspended by, like, it's being held up by a movable hospital stand, I guess you call it. Like you see a lot of these, like when you're doing IVs, for example.
Yeah, it's an IV.
Down to a gurney, but nobody's around. And so she attempts to escape by using her body's force.
Yeah.
Chest as well. But once she's able to,
okay,
to break free from the gurney and being,
I'm just skipping through because
this part of the gameplay is very much similar to how we played Resident Evil 7.
Wow.
Which to me is not a coincidence, because 7 and Requiem director. So I think there's a stylistic tendency to kind of gravitate toward also directed. Gameplay demo started, I realized just how much more detailed the game looks compared to the previous 2 Resident Evil games. Arc.
Okay, so I mean, we kind of know this because it's been a few years. Let's let me flip over to, let's see what
the time has come to face our past.
YouTube, why are you doing that? YouTube is screwing up.
The time has come to face our past. Resident Evil 9, a Requiem, has been officially announced, and what better timing than leading up to Resident Evil's
YouTube is
30th anniversary.
Totally screwing up today.
At this year's Summer Game Fest, we finally got to see...
Let me just do it one more time. Nope, it just is not working.
Closed doors. So what do you say? Let's get into it.
Resident Evil 9 Requiem.
Our trailer begins at the FBI's headquarters, of all places, an organization that has previously existed and was mentioned before in Resident Evil supplemental material, as well as the fax that is sent to Chris, found by Claire in the original RE2. We see an all-new character, FBI Special Agent Nathan Dempsey, snapping a younger agent out of her work trance.
Grace Ashcroft.
Yes?
As an outbreak...
I could have sworn that was going to be Rose. I was like, I mean, look at this. The hair, the attitude where she drops everything on the floor. How is that not Rose?
Superfan since the day it was released. I can't tell you how high I jumped out of my seat hearing the name Ashcroft in a brand new Resident Evil game. As Grace leaves her desk...
This does make me kind of want to do a full legacy run through of Resident Evil again, just to remember every single character and storyline and everything, because I haven't done that in almost 10 years. Like it's been a long time. Like back when I first was checking out all the Resident Evils, and I was just like, damn, these are made really well. I really wish I had kept up with Resident Evil over years. Like this was back when RE7 was becoming a thing. So yeah, I that's something that is maybe on the list to do over the rest of this year, of like maybe start up a Resident Evil Legacy playthrough. I don't know, we'll see. I wouldn't be doing like VR stuff, but I would be going back to OG Resident Evils. I've never even played through our RE1 original version, RE1. Maybe OG 2 and 3, because those are coming to PlayStation Plus. That'd be a good way to promote PlayStation Plus, getting those. And then even Survive, figure out how to get that up and running. Outbreaks, of course. Operation Raccoon City, even though it's not canon and it literally looks like a piece of shit, but I've never actually played before. Yeah. So I don't know, that could be something.
We see it absolutely covered in documents, folders, and boxes filled with reports.
Yeah.
Grace happens to be an FBI analyst, and if you're unaware, this role in the agency tends to stay in the office. Analysts will oftentimes work on multiple cases, in the hopes of finding trends and links between them. Before she was snapped out of her trance, she was working hard on a particular report. On her computer screen, we get to see that a development is being made, a pending investigation into 4 deaths where each victim was suspiciously infected with an unknown disease. I don't know about you, but that sounds an awful lot like the incidents around the Arclay Forest back in Raccoon City. In Dempsey's office, we very quickly learn that Grace here is the daughter of the one and only Alyssa Ashcroft from the Outbreak sub-series.
So see, this is where I need to go back and actually run through Outbreak as Alyssa Ashcroft. This is going to be probably a big thing on Twitch of people being like, how do I get my hands on... Oh, geez, it's like PS2 era. The great thing is it's PS2 era, and there's like 2 major ways that I can do this and make it look really good on stream. Either through emulation on the computer, or I can actually hook it up to the PS3 and do it that way, so...
Worse yet, we learn that this girl's mother apparently died 8 years prior to this story. Dempsey orders Grace to check out the Remwood Hotel, the place where Alyssa apparently met her end. Sending an analyst out on field work isn't completely uncommon, but it is peculiar, especially for what follows. Upon first viewing, I was so blown away at this familial connection that I didn't fully process that they were telling me that Alyssa died. I have thoughts about this that I'll explore a little bit later, but for now, oh my god, RE Engine Alyssa Ashcroft. There she is, and she looks great. We actually get to see a good bit of her, and in some shots she appears younger, as if we're seeing her original Outbreak.
So here's the problem with this, though, is we don't know. Are people really going to still be on the thing? Like, we've had how many remake games now? We are in the remake timeline. It's been what, RE1 remake, 2, 3, 4, 7, Village, and now 9. This is not the same Alyssa Ashcroft that was in Outbreak. It's the same character in spirit, but it's not the same character that's gone through all that stuff from Outbreak. And this is like where I think a lot of people are still mixing the timelines together, because we are in a brand new timeline from the last timeline stopped at RE6. Like after RE6, it's like done. That's the reason why they hurried up and made RE2 remake and 3 remake.
Incarnation. I should probably explain who Alyssa Ashcroft is for those who've...
But again, this is not going to be full canon with what's going... Like, this is going to be like the reference of canon to who she is in RE9. So, they changed this, they changed it. Yes, because this is a different universe. This is an alternate timeline, basically, of the original timeline. So, basically, what I'm saying is OG Resident Evil 1. So Resident Evil 0, OG Resident Evil 1... OG 2 and 3, originals of 2 and 3. I should stop saying OG so people know what I'm talking about here. But the original Resident Evil 0, original 1, 2, and 3, original 4, 5, 6. That's the original timeline. Now we have the remake timeline of Resident Evil 1, essentially. Zero doesn't actually, technically Zero kind of happened because Rebecca is in RE1, but for Resident Evil 1 remake, the one that you can find on like PS4, 5, PlayStation Network stores, you can find it on Xbox Live, all that stuff. The Resident Evil 1 that has like the front end of the mansion with the staircase going up into 2, that's a remake. There's stuff added into it, there's stuff changed. It's an actual remake. For a long time I thought that was a remaster. It is an actual remake of the first one because there's a lot of stuff added in. So it is an actual remake. They changed around the storyline a little bit. So that first one leads into RE2 remake, leads into RE3 remake, RE4 remake. Then they time jump to Resident Evil 7. That goes into Village because it's a 2-parter with Ethan stuff. And then now this is jumping into another portion of the timeline of Resident Evil 9, which again, all these remakes, like, you have your originals and you have your remakes down here of that timeline going forward. So the only connecting thing that you can kind of go off from that first thing is basically, actually not even that, because the original Resident Evil 1 connects the original timeline. 1 remake connects it to the remakes down here. So anyways.
Never played the Outbreak games. Alyssa was a reporter working for Raccoon City's Comet News back in '98. She was cool, sassy, capable, and had one hell of a dodge. Her iframes were absolutely on fire. Alyssa shares connections with a few other Resident Evil characters, notably Ben Bertolucci from RE2. She actually gets him his confiscated documents that he shares with Leon at the end of his story. The character January Van Sant from Resident Evil Resistance is commissioned by Alyssa to gather info on a possible link between Umbrella and the US government before she herself was captured by said corporation. I love Alyssa's character and always used to say she was like if Jill Valentine and Aya Brea had a baby. Her bio literally says she's a master of unlocking things, so she's a prime candidate to survive some horror. To make a long story short, she's one of the best characters to play as an Outbreak for her well-rounded skill set and no-nonsense, very fun personality. Alyssa is obviously older in these quick cuts, and that makes sense since I imagine these flashbacks are from Grace's POV at some point in her life. If we do
But is she older, or is this the remake universe? So it's not the same character. This is the thing where like Susie cannot separate the 2 timelines. She just does not want to do it. I think most of all of us are like, yeah, okay, it's going to be it is the same character from that, but it's a different storyline of that character. Like it's alternate universe. So that's the only thing where like Susie's a damn good like historian of all this lore and everything, Silent Hill to like basically anything Capcom and Konami. She's very good of like, okay, here's the storyline of ding, 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 and putting this all together in a very cohesive video. Again, shout out Spear Hunter. She does very good videos of all these retrospects and everything, but also keep that in mind. Like she has a hell of a time for the Resident Evil stuff of like split. It's because she grew up with them. And I get it. It's like if they remade the Mass Effect games and changed all the storyline around and everything, I'd probably have a hard time dissociating the original storyline with the new storyline also.
Do the math and look at RE's various timelines, Alyssa would have to escape Raccoon City, then give birth to Grace for her current day, younger appearance to make the most sense.
Because it's not the same character! It's not the same person. Okay.
Grace also has flashbacks to a strange hooded man that we see a few times throughout the trailer.
I'm gonna go on a limb and maybe say this is Wesker. Nobody wants to say that one either. Like Wesker's still alive in this timeline. He has not died in the remake timeline. We didn't have RE5 where Chris punches a boulder and shoots him in the face with a rock and he lands in the lava and thumbs up as he goes down. That has not happened in this remake timeline. So to all of our knowledge, Wesker is still alive, and that would be the biggest thing that they could do in 9, which is something that I was kind of predicting back in RE4 remake. As soon as we saw Wesker was alive, I'm like, he's going to be in the next Resident Evil, like the next brand new Resident Evil. He's going to show up in one way or the other. I think that's him underneath. It's like he's going to be, so he's starting to turn into like Ouroboros Wesker, and he's trying to figure out how to keep it under control, just like he did in the original storyline. But instead of him being all like world domination, I am mean asshole, Matrix man, 3000, instead of it being that, it's going to turn into like Wesker is becoming a science experiment of his own making, and he's trying to figure out how to control it. Sort of similar in a way, kind of to the movies, which I really hate to say that, but I think, it's like Capcom's regular team, so they're going to do a way better version of it. Or Wesker turns into Goop Man. That could be the thing too, of like, but then again, the Goop is already killed, so that can't happen. What makes the most sense is Wesker is he's infected and he's getting worse. And so he's trying to like, I'm losing control. Or does he even know he's losing control? That could be a very psychological thriller, spinny thing that they could do in there too.
This man looks conscious but infected.
See?
I have a harebrained conspiracy theory about this guy that I'll get into later. For now, it seems like this hooded man may be responsible for Alyssa's death at this mysterious hotel. Dempsey remarks that it might be time for Grace to face her past, as we see some more of the decrepit hotel flash before her eyes. We then smash cut to Grace in a dire situation. She's tied to a hospital bed, suspended upside down. Since I went to Summer Game Fest, I actually got to see this entire scene play out, and I'll talk about that a little bit later, so hold on tight. Examining a press screenshot sent out by Capcom, Grace is locked up in the Rhodes Hill Chronic Care Center, this being a never-before-seen location in Resident Evil.
Okay.
At first, I thought this hospital was going to be the same place in the flashback scenario of Outbreak File 2, given Alyssa's presence in this game, but then I remembered that building crumbles to the ground at the end of that level, so yeah. Next, we get a few interesting shots of what look like an old Gothic building that appears to be this very care center. We hear what I think is Alyssa telling Grace to stay close and that they're coming, likely referring to zombies or other horrors. There's also a shot of an overcast city street that I want to believe is Raccoon City, but more likely another place that Grace is investigating, since
if she's an investigator, what if this is Europe? And holy shit, what did that case file say way back in RE2 Remake about Chris being in Europe, and then also Ethan's in Europe? So Alyssa goes to Europe trying to hunt down all that stuff, trying to figure out what the hell is, there's an outbreak happening in Europe, gets caught, killed, and then that leads somehow back to Raccoon City, where we meet up with Wesker that is using Raccoon City's, rubble as cover for him trying to do experiments on BOWs, because who the hell would look in Raccoon City? It's been nuked for like 20-something years. 30 years. Oh, God. No, 20 years, because it was 98. We're not that old. We're getting old, but we're not that...
It doesn't have that sort of flashback filter over the footage. Inside of a Gothic building, likely the Remwood Hotel, we see a man facing away from us in a chair. An old phonograph sits on his right, with a drape-covered window on his left. This interior and its atmosphere look and feel very next-gen.
So if you remember, too, Wesker had something to do with Mother Miranda. And what did Mother Miranda have all around the village? Very old school tech. That phonogram is some of the oldest school tech that you could have. So it could be like Wesker gets word that Mother Miranda got taken down by Ethan, and now he's kind of like contemplating stuff, maybe. I think this is Wesker.
Very ominous. His dialogue is most interesting, hearing him call Grace the special one that he's been looking for.
Once again, just like Mother Miranda, saying that Rose is the catalyst to bring back her daughter and all that. It's calling Rose the special one, the select one, or whatever the hell it is there, the chosen one. And all that.
I know now that you're the one that I've been searching for.
Okay, now I'm listening to it. Could that be older Wesker? Or could it be Spencer? No, because I think Spencer... Do we know of... No, remake universe. We don't know of Spencer. All we know is the Spencer mansion, the Spencer estate and all that stuff. And also Spencer was heavily talked about too in the... was it Spencer or was it Wesker? Shit, it's been a while since I read the the files there in RE4 remake. I think they both were in there, but Spencer was more heavily. So this could be actually Spencer instead of Wesker. I think the hooded guy might be Wesker hunting. He might be the one. It's hell. We could have two things of whatever the thing is crawling down the wall hunting you in RPD, and then Wesker hunts you around Raccoon City, possibly. That could be it. And then this is Spencer, like the remake version of Spencer.
Special one. The chosen one. Miss Ashcroft.
If we zoom in on this particular close-up, we can see that the man's skin is rather decomposed and pale. I do believe that this is the mysterious hooded figure from earlier. I think this guy is going to be the main villain, but more on him in a second. The next shot is the money shot, as we see
Look at that.
the bombed-out ruins of Raccoon City. A massive crater lay beside a collection of surprisingly intact buildings. This city, once the site of bustling commerce and life, turned zombie apocalypse, now clings to its undead.
Man, as she's saying that, I'm just remembering Jill running up, and you see all the cars on fire, and the street lights are on, and all the billboards up there, and just everything's just. Everybody's going haywire, and all the like all that stuff. It's crazy coming back to Raccoon after we've had like 10 years of 2 and 3 remake
Existence refusing to die. We get detailed shots around the city's ruins as we finally see it, the ruins of the RPD. A building I and many of you know very well. This place is like a home away from home for a lot of RE fans, so seeing it in this state left me feeling kind of somber. I know some of you probably thought about this too. The only other time we ever got to see a post-apocalyptic RPD was actually in arguably the worst Resident Evil title ever made, Umbrella Corps. Though in that game, it wasn't as destroyed as it is here. There's a game idea that Capcom has seemingly always wanted to do.
You know what this reminds me of in a big way is the Normandy on Mass Effect. Like, you spend so many hours in the Normandy in Mass Effect 1, then Mass Effect 2, it gets like cut in half literally, and then you go and actually visit the crash site, and it's just like, it just almost makes you tear up just thinking about your first ship, your first home out in space, and here it is in rubble. Like that shit hit so hard seeing that. And this is that all over again with the RPD. It's like, my God, Capcom was back. They hit their stride with RE2 remake. They knew what they were doing, and then it's like all that history of the speed runs I've done, the streams, the mod runs that I learned how to mod Resident Evil off from this game in the RPD and everything, and now all of a sudden the roof is gone. It's like, fuck.
Where the star characters of the franchise return to the ruins of Raccoon City and the Spencer Mansion. This idea, often referred to as Biohazard Dash, was planned after the release of the first game, but quickly shelved. I guess Capcom's finally doing it, and it's pretty cool to see. I personally hope we also get to explore the Arklay Mountains and everyone's favorite haunted mansion. The dialogue over these shots especially caught my attention.
Whoa, that would be fucking nuts. Go back to the hospital and all that stuff. Go back to Spencer Mansion of all things. Holy shit. Fuck. I mean, you think about that. You go into like the dining room where Barry shoots the fucking zombie in the face, and it's just like half the ceiling's gone and all that shit, but you're actually in there with like the camera over the shoulder and like walking around. It's just eerie as fuck. Here's a question. If you're watching this on YouTube, post in the comments. What would be more spooky? This is actually how they would freak the fuck out of me. What would be more spooky? A ghostly type of thing going on, so you have like demon spirits in the RPD, or in the Spencer Mansion. I think the Spencer Mansion would actually fit like a ghosty type of thing. So we revisit Spencer Mansion, and all of a sudden, like the demon spirits, because everybody had no clue what the fuck was happening to them in Spencer Mansion. They just kind of started to get really itchy, and they were looking for something tasty, and then they just died. So wouldn't that make the mansion haunted as fuck? Like, that is like perfect poltergeist ghost activity. I hate that shit. It freaks the fuck out of me. Let's fucking go, Capcom. Let's do it. Let's go back to Spencer Mansion. Fuck.
So I want you guys to stick with me no matter how silly or fanfiction-y this might sound. The first line we hear is,
investigating all these strange deaths, huh?
I think that this voice belongs to Kevin Ryman from Outbreak. Outbreak fans, tell me that does not sound exactly like him. With us getting a literal Outbreak era flashback of Alyssa, the chances we'll see other Outbreak characters isn't exactly the lowest.
You know, he's holding 1911, so I respect it. Okay, fine. Like, that's... Maybe he's... so I'm thinking, again, all these Outbreak characters probably going to be the same age as they were in Outbreak, but Outbreak hasn't happened, so this is going to be a whole new take on their story. He's kind of like the rookie cop, and then Leon comes in and he's like, this kid has no fucking idea what he's doing.
You know, after that we hear more of what I assume to be Alyssa, and then we hear another voice. Again, stick with me on this. I think that voice is Mark from Outbreak. I believe that we will get quick flashes to the events of that game. RE4R has Leon remembering Raccoon's.
Why is Scottie Pippen in this game? Playing through Outbreak is going to be one of those things where it's like, I am going to make fun of every fucking character equally, and it's going to be a great time.
City, so who's to say when Grace isn't a child, her no-nonsense mom might open up to her about the moment that shaped her life forever. She literally survived Raccoon City. That's no easy feat, and it would undeniably stay with you, as we've seen with every other main character. To finish things off, we get a few shocking shots to end the trailer. We see a man struggling to warn someone to...
I think he might be an investigator or something. I was thinking he might be a priest, possibly, because I thought I saw the like priest, whatever the fuck they call it, the collars there. But I think he might actually maybe be a lawyer or investigator or something.
Stay away as he mutates in real time, his throat deteriorating right in front of us. We see the hooded man suffocating what looks to be a politician sort. This particular moment might be related to the report found on Grace's computer, and we flash to a police officer zombifying before our eyes. I don't know about you guys, but this dude looks like he's been plucked straight out of the 90s. Finally, we see a massive dark creature descending out of the ceiling of the Rhodes Hill Care Center. Boy, do I have a theory for you on what I think this is. Let's just say those audible chains rattling may not just be Care Center. Boy, do I have...
We have spotted the boobs. It's a female. It's something. It's a B. I don't know if it'd be Lisa Trevor. It could be, because we never actually confirmed that she's dead. She just kind of goes, and yeah. It could be Lisa Trevor. It's
a theory for you on what I think this is.
Let's
just say those
a
audible chains rattling may not just be a creepy sound effect. The logo drop is accompanied by the monster screaming in our faces. RE9, Requiem.
White hair. So it could be like, it could be 2.0. It's probably the mother.
Sheesh. What an incredible way to return us to the world of survival horror. So before I move on to the SGF secret gameplay I experienced, I want to tell you guys my crazy theory about what I think the villain's goal might be, and explain what Grace's role in the story may potentially entail. So if you're a hardcore Outbreak fan, you'll know that by default, each of the characters you play as are actually infected with the T-virus. In basic gameplay, this virus gauge counts up to full infection. If you lose track of this thing, you may become a zombie. Spoilers for the first Outbreak, but in the final level of the game, you can...
Let's skip ahead.
And use her blood. But that also may be the reason why Alyssa is gone. Maybe this dude killed her while experimenting on her. Or maybe her immune blood has aged and lost its potency, leading him to need a newer, younger candidate with the same immunity. I don't want to believe that Alyssa is dead, considering we haven't seen her for over 20 years, but it could be good motivation for Grace to want to catch this guy. Does that all sound crazy, or maybe too spot on? I was putting all of this together while watching the game play out in front of me.
Doesn't sound crazy. It just sounds like you're stuck with the original timeline. And you're not wanting to let it be a remake.
Really excited to see how all of this plays out and to see if Alyssa really did die 8 years back. Knowing RE, the writers are historically pretty generous to our favorite characters. As we know, fake outs are always possible, especially for masters of unlocking. So with all that said, I went to Summer Game Fest and got to see a decently sized portion of RE9's gameplay. And what I saw blew my mind. So the demo begins with Grace hanging upside down, getting her blood drained in an almost Saw movie style contraption. Grace, being an FBI analyst, uses her smarts to escape the device. She knocks over the glass IV next to the bed filled with her own blood, drags the broken bottle up to her hand, and is able to cut herself free as the gameplay begins. Now, listen carefully. Our starting perspective is first-person view. Please wait before you start complaining, okay? The game does feel a lot like RE7, with the hospital Grace is trapped in being this dingy, old American Gothic building.
I really like that everybody's complaining about the first person point of view because I really didn't like it myself. I grew to be okay with it, but I really don't like the first person view. I'd much rather it be third person.
The halls of Rhodes Hill are almost pitch black, and to my surprise, Grace actually uses a Zippo lighter to light her way forward, just like Claire in Code Veronica. The goal in this demo is to find a fuse to open a gate to safety. As you'd expect, a classic Resident Evil key hunt commences. As we go, we find a themed key, the Cherub key, which opens a specific door that leads us to a file that explains where we can find a screwdriver that opens up a fuse box.
So
as we approach the nurse's wing,
stuff.
Grace is caught off guard by a dead body toppling onto her, knocking her to the floor. Before she can catch her breath and lift the carcass, a massive creature creeps up behind her. Its gigantic hand scoops up the dead body, biting its head off cleanly. This initiates a classic Nemesis-style chase sequence. When I tell you that this chained thing is tall, I mean it's like 20 feet tall. Its body fills the rooms and door frames it's squeezed into.
Okay. That's a very old style dress. That's not modern day. So if it's wearing that, unless something happened with Alyssa where she got changed into a different outfit, I don't think this is Alyssa then, because the outfit doesn't match.
We get to see this monster very briefly in the reveal trailer, but that shot of it coming out of the ceiling does not do its size justice. The incredibly dark atmosphere of this place is heightened by the massive roaring nightmare right behind us. We even get to see Grace trip all over herself during this specific chase scene, which makes the first-person view option feel even more nightmarish. With Grace, Capcom have made their most non-combative RE protagonist yet. I feel like when playing as her, we'll really have to use our brains.
I really hope you're wrong on that one. I really hope you're wrong on that one, because that's the whole thing that makes Resident Evil fun, is being able to shoot things in the face and have that like stare down and like, would you just die? You know, like that's the fun part of it. Being like, oh my God, I can't kill this thing. I have to run away from it every 2 seconds. That is such a pain in the ass. That shit is what made Outlast. Like, I never played the Outlast 2 because Outlast 1 annoyed the shit out of me with that. I finished Outlast 1, but it was more or less on the thing of like, I bought this, so I want to finish it, kind of. That really, that hits the hype mirror down a few notches right there of like, oh, she's not combative all. Ugh.
To solve the game's conflicts. The way this monster chases Grace isn't fixed or linear either. She's climbing up into the ceiling, going through walls and windows, and also dropping in when you least expect it.
So this is the mother all over again, when you fight her in the boss fight type of situation. Or like Alien Isolation in a lot of ways too. But that's the thing with Alien Isolation. I'm pretty sure you got like a flamethrower. I still have never actually beaten Alien Isolation. Everybody fucking loves that thing. It took like 4 hours just to get to the point where it's like, oh, there's an alien over there. And then I actually never even saw the fucking alien. I just saw like the tail of it. I was like, okay, after 4 hours, holy shit.
Watching the gameplay reminded me of running from the xenomorph from Alien Isolation.
Right there, motherfucker.
I think RE9 will feature the best and most replayable chase scenes in the series to date. As Grace finds her way out of the maze of dark halls, she escapes the dark wing of the hospital, ending the demo. But the mic drop moment that made me react like this Was after the chase was done, the game paused itself, the settings menu opened, and the player chose to switch the game to third-person view.
Yeah!
That's right, both perspectives are fully playable in RE9. The third-person view looks exactly like RE4R's wider camera perspective. This is not going to be a jankier RE Village third-person mode like we got with Gold Edition. Capcom have clearly been developing this game with both perspectives.
I forgot about that. They added third person to Village because everybody was so fucking up in arms about that, because like half the player base couldn't even play RE7 or Village because of the first person mode. They just get motion sick. Like accessibility is absolute trash when you do first person for some people.
And mind, and that's probably why it's been taking so long to show it. I am so excited to replay the
I've been live for an hour and a half and I'm still
game both
fuck.
ways. This option put a
Sorry.
smile on my face because I know a lot of fans genuinely don't like first-person view, and that's very understandable with this being a historically third-person game franchise. Well, now you can play however you want.
That's
Before
good.
I move on to my own unofficial speculations for what the rest of the gameplay might be, I have another theory about what or even who this giant monster is. I got to see this creature in all of its glory, standing on her hind legs, swiping away at Grace and even picking Grace up and chomping down on her shoulder. By the way, that attack looked
Oh, so this is Grace down here, and that is like who's coming in. All right.
exactly like the classical painting Saturn devouring his son. I kid you not. All of this was accompanied
Okay.
by the monster wailing away with some very familiar noises. RE1 Remake is my favorite game of all time. I've played thousands of hours of that title. I got it at release. Every single thing about that game is burned into my memory. When I tell you I was perplexed, excited, and utterly terrified at hearing this chained-up monster make the exact same noises as
Lisa.
Remake 1's Lisa Trevor, I was stunned. You can even hear this RE9 monster in the SGF reaction room that I was in. Take a listen for yourself. If we're returning to Raccoon City, I think it's very possible
It
that
does
the
sound like
one
it.
unkillable monster that may have been trapped in these ruins, surviving and evolving for the past 30 years, could be Lisa Trevor. A much angrier and much larger Lisa Trevor, I'll add. At no point was her name ever spoken, but I know what I heard, and I know what I saw definitely lined up with what I know about this series. If this isn't Lisa, well, damn, I guess Capcom are just masters of reusing their own assets. Okay. Moving on. Official footage and my own crazy theories aside, I do have my very own speculations on how the rest of the game is going to play out, so let's talk about that. Like the Ethan Winters games, I do believe a legacy character will show up, and we will switch to playing as them for a more action-orientated gameplay experience. RE has always had strong action gameplay roots, even in its original trilogy. It's a guaranteed selling point for the series, and I fully believe while the survival horror elements will be upgraded as I saw in the demo, I'm sure the action elements will also get a similar upgrade.
Yeah, okay. So we've had here's the problem with this though, is we've had two games that are already slow pace with 7 and Village. The next game needs to be this. It needs to be high octane action, or people are just going to kind of snooze fest it. Because that's what actually happened after 7 and Village after a while. People are like, yeah, okay, Ethan is that's the reason why Ethan always gets clowned so fucking hard. It's like, dude is just a random dude that does not do, he's got no flips, he's got no kicks, he's got no explosives outside of like running around with a silver the silver fucking bullet gun. Wolfbane, there we go. With outside of running around with that, it's like, yeah.
Whether that character be a returning hero like Jill, Leon, or Chris is kind of up in the air, seeing
I think we're going to see everyone. I think this is going to be the game because we are coming back to RPD, and we're coming back to Raccoon City and all that stuff. This is going to be like, everybody's homecoming in a sense. Jill started in Raccoon, Leon started in Raccoon, Chris and Claire were in Raccoon City. It makes sense to bring everybody in after you've built all these characters up and you've done all this stuff. Now, the real question is, has anybody from the other games, I mean, outside of Ethan and Rose and all that stuff, maybe Rose shows up too. And like, she's the one that's like, I'm here to finish this shit. My father died for this cause. I'm here to finish. I got powers or whatever. Hopefully they don't go that direction. But, like everybody comes around the round table in the middle of the RPD or something. And Leon's already like, yeah, we know this and we got to finish this now. It's very much like RE6 Leon. And then like Ada comes out of the woodworks and all that. So like, it just makes sense that everybody would be here.
As how each of those people all spent time and have history in Raccoon City. Something that Jeff said on the SGF stage has stuck out in my mind. He talked about the game being something ambitious, the scale being a lot bigger than previous games. Judging by the gameplay I experienced, I don't think we'll be getting like a full open world like a lot of other games, but I feel like RE9's game world is going to be a larger open map with classic puzzle-filled backtrackable hub zones. The fact that the trailer showed us so much of Raccoon City in great detail, like specific locations, makes me think we'll be able to fully explore this ruined city. I immediately thought of Days Gone, mostly because it's a zombie exploration game and I happen to like it a lot, but also because with a potentially open area map, you'd need some kind of vehicle to get around. This might purely be my fan fiction brain talking here, but I really want to see Grace ride around this dilapidated town on a motorcycle.
No, I think that is just because Days Gone just came out. I think your brain's going that direction. What I really think it's going to be is it's going to be Resident Evil 6 all over again, where it's like, okay, you two take that area of the map, you two take that area of the map, you two take that area of the map. What they could do is the RPD is like the center hub where everybody comes together to do kind of like the board of, okay, so there's one villain, somewheres in the city. Where is he? And everybody's going around to get all the information, the keys to the puzzle, if you will, to unlock the final door, which is the final boss of it, which is, who knows where he's at. And then you're going through all, like, there's different, the hospital map, the RPD map, the gas station out in the middle of nowhere. I don't know, like all that stuff. That's what it's kind of telling.
Grace is a quirky nerd in general, as we've seen, but I love the idea that she may have this one unabashedly badass quality to her. And that could possibly be bike riding. Like, wouldn't it be so cool outrunning zombies or maybe even that giant hospital monster while getting to your next location in the ruined city? Another reason which makes me think this is because she's literally wearing motorcycle boots in the trailer. But a girl can dream, can I? Also, in the behind closed doors demo, I really got the sense that Grace isn't a quitter, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
She definitely isn't a fighter, but she is mentally equipped with the skills to persevere. So maybe that means she has a badass, post-apocalyptic motorcycle. I don't know. In essence, those are my thoughts on RE9 so far.
I think biker boots are usually work boots also, so that's kind of
They showed so much, yet so little. I'm sure whatever else they're planning is going to be great as well.
She has boots. She has a bike.
I do think this will be the most epic RE game in terms of scale. One thing that kind of bothers me about new Resident Evil games is the series' shaky commitment to new and old characters. Sometimes it could seem like the games rely on having you pop off and get excited at seeing Leon or Chris again, and sometimes we get a dry guy like RE7's Ethan. What's got me so excited about RE9 is, while we are getting a brand new character in Grace, she is the offspring of a legacy character, a rather obscure one at that. It's a refreshing concept that's got me so excited to see what Alyssa Ashcroft's been up to all these years later. Who would have imagined that lonely RE7 news article written by Miss Ashcroft would have led us to this very moment? Capcom, you are Galaxy Brain for doing this, so thank you for bringing back my favorite Outbreak character and putting Outbreak in the spotlight. If another trailer drops with even more info, you know I'll be on it. If Leon or Jill come power sliding in to save Grace from Lisa Trevor 2.0, I might have to call Capcom and ask if they're stealing my fanfiction. Well, I guess I have to make an Outbreak retrospective now, huh? Yeah. Until next time, hunters, stay tuned.
Okay. Good video. And YouTube is totally stuck again. God damn it, YouTube. Why do you do this?